August 16th. Most of us think letting go of the past happens in one of two ways. Either we force ourselves to stop thinking about it, or we wait, hoping that eventually time will make it hurt less. But today's Murli gives us a very different way of looking at it. Baba shows us that the past does not always need more time. Sometimes it needs a clear decision, a moment where we consciously stop feeding what has already happened. Today's teachings explore what it really means to release old patterns, how to protect our mental energy from being wasted on unnecessary thoughts, and how to become a genuine source of support for others without losing our own stability. And today's blessing brings it all together by showing us what real success looks like, not only in what we do, but first, in the quality of the thoughts we create. In today's first teaching, Baba uses the meaning of Holi, it has already happened, to teach us that we need to stop carrying the past, it into the present. And yet this is exactly what the mind so often does. Life moves forward while our thoughts keep returning to what has already happened. A conversation ended, a mistake was made, an opportunity passed, and yet one thought can bring the whole experience back. We replay what happened, what they said, what we should have said, what we wish we had done differently. And each time we revisit it, the mind doesn't simply remember the past. It emotionally re-enters it. Think about an argument that happened a week ago. You're driving somewhere, and suddenly you remember one particular comment. Your mind immediately starts thinking about the response you wish had given. Then you remember something else they said, and without intending to, you're angry again. Your body is tense. Your mood has changed. Your blood pressure has gone up. Perhaps you even carry that irritation into the next conversation you have. The argument lasted 20 minutes, but mentally you've now experienced it many more times. And this is where Baba's simple phrase becomes so powerful. It happened. Not that it didn't matter, not that it didn't hurt, but simply it happened. And I don't have to keep making it happen again inside me. Because letting go of the past doesn't mean denying it. Sometimes we need to understand what happened, learn from it, apologize, forgive, change a pattern, set a boundary. But once we've taken from the experience what we genuinely need, continuing to replay it doesn't necessarily give us more wisdom. That is the real choice Baba is asking us to make, to let the past stay in the past. If there is something to learn, learn it. If there is something to repair, repair it. But if there is nothing left to do, let it be finished. Because time alone doesn't always release us from the past. Sometimes we have to stop reopening the door. It happened. I learned. And now I am here in the present. The second teaching Baba gives us today is that when we keep repeating something, we can create a little bubble around it in our mind until it starts to feel much bigger and more important than it really is. Baba reminds us today of the value of every thought and every minute. We usually think about a moment only in terms of what it costs us right now. 5 minutes wasted doesn't seem important. 10 minutes spent worrying about something we can't control doesn't feel like much. But we rarely stop to think about what that moment can cost us over time. Because when the same small choice is repeated again and again, the long-term cost can become much bigger than the moment ever seemed. Think about spending just 5 minutes scrolling on social media. 5 minutes doesn't matter much, but 5 minutes, 12 times throughout the day, is an hour. An hour every day becomes more than 15 full days over the course of a year, and suddenly something that felt insignificant in each individual moment has consumed a meaningful part of our life. Our thoughts work in much the same way. One thought of resentment may seem harmless, but revisit it 20 times and we've strengthened resentment. And the opposite is also true. One moment of remembrance, one peaceful thought, one conscious decision to stop an old pattern, 1 minute spent with Baba. None of these may feel transformational on their own, but repeated consistently, they begin shaping who we become. And Baba isn't just looking at what happens in that one moment. He's looking at what that moment turns into when we keep repeating it. And that ties beautifully into the first teaching. If we keep using today's thoughts to go back over yesterday, we're not just losing a few minutes here and there. Over time, we're giving the past more and more influence over who we are becoming today. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, if I keep thinking this way, where will it eventually take me? Because a thought may occupy only a few seconds, but repeated often enough, it can become a direction. The third teaching comes from today's blessing, where Baba speaks about becoming an image of perfection through success in both our thoughts and our actions. And Baba starts with the mind. We often think that if we keep thinking about something long enough, eventually we'll figure it out. So we analyze it, replay it, imagine different possibilities, think through every possible outcome. But sometimes, instead of becoming clearer, we just end up mentally exhausted. Baba is drawing our attention to all those extra thoughts we create around one situation, because every thought uses energy. And when our mind is going in 20 different directions at once, there's much less power behind the one thought that actually matters. Think about someone who wants to help a family member going through a difficult time. They might spend hours thinking, what should I say? What if they don't want to talk? Maybe I should give them space. What if I say the wrong thing? There may be 100 thoughts, when perhaps only one action is needed. Call them and ask, what would be most helpful to you right now? That's the difference between mental activity and useful thought. And Baba takes the same principle into action. Before doing something, understand its beginning, middle, and end. In other words, don't only ask, what do I want to do? Ask, where is this likely to lead? Before offering help, consider whether you can sustain it. Before saying yes, consider what that commitment will require. Before beginning something important, think beyond the enthusiasm of the first step. This doesn't mean overthinking everything. In fact, it's almost the opposite. Think clearly enough that you don't have to keep thinking endlessly. Then act. And perhaps this is what makes our support for others more useful too. We don't need to solve everyone's problems. We don't need to exhaust ourselves trying to be everything to everyone. Sometimes genuine support is simply seeing clearly what is needed, doing what we realistically can, and doing it well. That creates a very different kind of power, less scattered thought, less reactive action, more clarity, more intention, and ultimately more of our energy available for the things and the people that genuinely matter. 3 daily practices. 1. Let one thing from yesterday stay there. When an old conversation, mistake, or frustration returns today, pause and remind yourself, it happened. I've taken what I needed from it. I don't need to live it again. Learn what needs to be learned, but don't keep giving today's energy to something that has already passed. 2. Notice where your thoughts are taking you. A few times today, catch yourself in the middle of a repeated thought and ask, if I keep thinking this way, where will it take me? If the thought is useful, continue with it. If it's worry, resentment, or unnecessary overthinking, consciously redirect your attention. A thought may last only seconds, but repeated often enough, it becomes a direction. 3. Think clearly, then act. Before saying yes, offering help, or beginning something important, pause and ask, what is actually needed here? Then consider whether the action is useful and sustainable before committing yourself. The goal isn't to think about everything more. It's to think clearly enough that you don't have to keep thinking endlessly. Final reflection. Today's Murli is really about where we place our energy. We can spend it replaying what has already happened. We can scatter it across thoughts that lead nowhere. Or we can gather that same energy and use it consciously in the present. The past has already happened. This moment hasn't. And perhaps that's why Baba asks us to value every thought and every minute. Because what we repeatedly give our attention to eventually shapes the direction of our life. So today, release what is finished. Choose your thoughts carefully and give your energy to what can still become something. Om Shanti.